Hey guys, this is gonna be my review on the Spyre pads and the Quaoar pads. I think I said that right. There's gonna be a lot of bunching of names in this pad or this video, so beware. Um, but I thought I would do all these pads in one video, like a little mousepad roundup. Um, the first we'll go over is Spires, and then we'll go over the Quaoar pads. But some of these pads are really solid, honestly. First we'll go over the Loke. Um, this is just like a really solid pad. It's kind of like the EBA and the Aqua Control Super, I believe, from X-ray pads. It's really like abrasive to the skin and all those along those lines. But it's like extremely durable. So if you want like a really durable pad, this is one of them. It should last a while, and it's really like I would say a balance pad, honestly. I would give it like a speed, say the old version 1 of the Saturn is a 5 or so. I would give this like a 7-ish to 8-ish, around those lines, depending on skates. I don't really have any, like, I don't like dots, so I just wasted these. But I don't have any bigger skates to really test how they are with those, but it's pretty fast with dots. Yeah, I know that's gonna be like mouse porn or something, whatever you call it, gore. But yeah. As far as the Loke, it does have a little bit of control, but I would say it's on the balance side. It's probably in the middle, honestly. One of the most balanced pads to me. It does really well for I would say all games, honestly. So if you want like a pad that's good for all games all around, I would say this is probably best bet. It's probably the best Spyre pad, honestly. Until I think if we get like an upgraded Kamek in the gray, I think that might be like pretty good pad, honestly. If we can get like everything sorted out with like the stitching, the base, and all those lines. But yeah, this is the Spyre Loke. Do get a hair bit of control, not too much. So if you're looking for something that's on the balance side of speedish or so, this is a good pad. Very extremely durable. All right, this is gonna be the Daru, I believe is how you say it. It's supposed to be a more speedier cloth pad. But I would say it's a little slower than the Loke. Yeah, it do have a little more control. I would put this around the 6-ish or so spot or speed. You just do get a little bit of control, not too much. But this is a really solid pad. I used it the most out of all of the newer pads besides the Loke. I used the older one, which is the same thing, it's just different size. But I think this was my favorite pad out of all of them, honestly. But the sizing on all these pads are, I believe, 480 by 400, 3mm thick for this one. Looks like they're all 3mm thick, so, and the same size. It says it's a control pad, silky feel, printed logo, and stitch edges. The edges or the stitch edges are above the pad, so if that annoys you, yeah, you might have a trouble with that, but they're not really, you don't really feel them or anything. All these pads are like $27 on their website, and I believe $30 on Lethal. So it's a fair price for what you get. I would say this is probably my favorite pad out of the bunch. I did use this in like Valorant and Apex and didn't really struggle any at all. Because you get a a little bit of control, but not, you can still like adjust your micros and stuff along those lines. But for $30, I say it's fair price. But this is the number one recommendation out of all the pads, unless you want like a more speedier pad that's gonna last a long time. I would go with the Loke, but that's the Daru. This is gonna be the Epochie. Sorry, I can't. But this is gonna be like a little slower than the other Daru. The base is a little softer on this one. I would say the other one's more of a mid base with a touch of softness. It's probably like in the middle. The same with the Loke. That pad's probably soft in between mid, but they're really thin, so it's not really too much of an issue. But this one kind of has the same feeling of the Daru, but it's just a touch slower, so I'd give it like a 4-ish, maybe 5, depending on skates. Really hard to tell as far as like speed with dots because they speed up your pad so much. But this pad seems pretty solid for the amount of time I've used it. Stitching is above the edges. All these pads are rolled up, but they all lay flat. Besides the Rosanna, that one kind of struggles to lay flat. But I would say this is a pretty good pad. I still do think I like the Daru better. I do need to use this pad a little more, but it's a cool color and $30, it's not too bad. The base does lay flat, so that's a plus. All these, I would say these are like budget pads, honestly, but they still seem really good. Long-term use, they do feel like they would hold up. They don't feel like they have any like coating or anything, and they're really smooth. The Daru and the Epochie is smooth. But yeah, these are really solid pads, but this is the one that I wished turned out a little better than it did, because I really like the Kamek, and this is kind of supposed to be the Kamek, the Rosanna. I really wish they would have just went with like gray and changed the size of the OG Kamek to 490 by 420 and 3 millimeters thick. The stitching on this one is like the older Kamek, so it is a little scuffed. But they have said they will send, like, if it's your pads are messed up, they will send you a new one to cover it. But I do think like the older Kamek, I feel like it felt better to me. This one does feel like a touch smoother. The base is a little, just like a touch firmer than the Kamek, since it's a little thinner. I would say is probably the reason it feels like that. I didn't use this one a lot, so, but I have used the Kamek a ton, and apparently it's like the same material, just pink and maybe like a different little. It's a little smoother feeling, I would say, but I couldn't really use this pad a lot because it does have a QC issue, but they told me they would send me a new one. So yours does have a QC issue or anything along those lines, they will cover you in the future when they get their newer pads and that don't have problems. But these pads really surprised me, honestly. These are the Quaoar, whatever you say, however you say it, Quaoar. I believe they will be stocked on Lethal eventually when they get them in the US. But this pad, this orange one, is the Perseus. I think that's how you say it. This one reminds me of the Saturn, but maybe like a I've used this pad a good bit, so it might be slowed down a little bit, but it feels a little slower than the newer Saturn, the 2023 one. But honestly, these pads surprised me for what they are, and this was probably my top pick out of the pads from them. Um, I would say this is probably around the five-ish, honestly, with the Saturn 20 or V1 Soft X Soft Pro. I do feel like the newer Saturn might be a touch faster than the older one since the base changed. But honestly, the stitching on these pads is pretty level under the surface, so you shouldn't have any issues along those lines. It's really smooth feeling. It's got a nice color. Really surprised me. The base, I would say it's probably like a soft or so. No issues with like pushing down too much and getting sticky with the dots. But I really think this pad's really good, and hopefully Lethal can get those soon. But here's the Oceana, so I believe how you say it. This pad is a little more abrasive. I will go over the other ones and do like a glide test for y'all. This one I would say is for speed. I would put this up with like 7 or 8ish. It's more abrasive to the skin. It kind of feels like a heen, maybe like a little smoother, but it does feel pretty solid. But I do think I would like the Loke better in this pad as far as speedier surface. But the base, there's nothing really wrong with it. The base is solid. The stitch edge is solid. It's just like it aggravates my arm for some reason. Do get a little control, but this is gonna be a more speedier side of things. I would say it's probably on the maybe a balanced side of speed, almost touching the speed side. It's a really red color. It's really darker than it looks on my camera. But that's the Oceanas. Hopefully Lethal can really get these soon because he's really surprising quality and from a like company we haven't really heard much of. Okay, this pad is really interesting and I love the color. I love the feeling of it. But Jesus, this pad is slow. Like slow. It's a neutron. It feels so good to your skin, but like it feels like those velvet or velour couches or whatever, where you can like rub your finger across and you can see it. Like it's so slow. This is probably one of the slowest pads that I've used, but it does feel. If you want a mud pad, I would say this is probably one of the best mud pads. It does feel a little faster with the dots. So I might give it a go again. I have been using the GR too, and I'm really loving that pad. But I love this color. I think if you want a really slow pad, this is one you would keep your eyes out on. I did use it a good bit playing Valorant. Did really well. My shot was stable. And I hit some crazy flicks with it. But all these pads are pretty solid. This pad's so slow. It's crazy how slow it is, but give us glide tests of these. I mean, glide tests really don't show anything because it really depends on like so many factors like skates and humidity, all those like everything's going to be a little different from what I or someone else explains it as, just because different factors. But All of these are really, really decent pads, and I'm not sure the pricing of these pads, Quaoar or Quaoar or whatever the hell it is. Um, Really hard name to say for me, but I'm not sure the pricing. But I would say really solid pad if they're around $40 or so. It does feel like it's I don't think it's they say it's pour on, but it feels high quality, so it could be pour on. I don't know if it's real pour on, but it's really nice feeling, especially this orange one. I really had a fun time on the orange one. And I believe Stubby FPS also did reviews on these pads, and he enjoyed them too. So I mean, it's really surprising quality from someone not really known, but hopefully we see them soon in Lethal. I've tried to get some more videos out. I wanted to do these pads together just because so I could have like a little mouse pad around up. I do have a bunch of East vs Tiger pads I got to do. Then I got the whale pads I need to do as well. But this is a little longer video. Sorry for being so slow. But have a good day. Fuck controllers. Thanks for watching. And keep your head up. I know times are tough and everyone has their days, but everyone has their problems and just to overcome it. There's no reason to give up because it can always get better. Have a good day. Bye.